Hey, you guys, it is now Sunday, and we are back for another edition of Homeschool Family Bites. We will be talking today about rest, which seemed appropriate for a Sunday, right?
It does. And I'm awfully tired myself, so it kind of resonates with me right now.
As we were talking about it and thinking about it, the first thing that popped into my head about rest is the fact that I am my own worst enemy. Hands down, I am my own worst enemy. And I thought of a few reasons why, and I thought that this may resonate with you. There may be others out there who are their own worst enemy who, like me, sabotage their ability to rest. One of the things that I do is I sense I always need to be doing something. Literally, for me to settle down, it takes a while. Whether it be going on vacation or just in the middle of the day, I feel like I have to be doing something all the time.
Yeah, you have some sort of a new thing that's coming on you, or let's say we're getting ready for vacation. We're getting ready to leave for a time of rest, and it's like all this energy before you get up there. And I think there's a couple different ways that we can go with this. The first one would be you have the Sabbath in the law that God gave the Jews, the Israelites. And why did he do that? And I think Jesus references that a little bit. He says that God gave you the Sabbath for yourself. And I think one of the things I'd like to touch on first is that you don't just wake up one day and decide, hey, I'm going to take a Sabbath. You don't just all of a sudden, it's not something that just strikes you like a bolt of lightning and you just decide that you're going to do this and you're going to be restful today. Usually, by and large, this is something that you have to plan. Yeah. You have to, if you're going to take a day of rest, and there's 7 days in the week, and you're going to take a day of rest, you have to plan for that for the entire week, or things are going to crowd in on your day. If you are working a job and you have a vacation that is coming up, you have to plan going into that vacation, or you're not really going to have a whole lot of rest while you're on the vacation. If you want to take a sabbatical for a month, it's the same scenario. You are working all year to be able to take that month. I remember that when we first started the events, Teach Them Diligently, you would actually plan how you were going to run your homeschool, calendar year based on when our events were. And a lot of the families that worked with us did the same thing. It was something that they said, okay, when are the events? And then they would start the school earlier or whatever. They would. So you got to plan on this. And so if you have to plan to have a Sabbath, you're actually what you're centering. You got to take that time on. That is actually dominating all of your time. So when God says, I want you to take a Sabbath and I want you to use it for focus on me and for worship, he's actually dominating all of your time by doing that.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the elements on taking a Sabbath. The other element of taking a Sabbath or taking rest is you need it. You need it. And a lot of us think that, and I do the same thing, they think that the way to get things done and the way to be the most productive is to just work, and you pile thing on top of thing on the top of thing, and you almost brag about, man, I worked from 8 until 10, one day, and it was just basically can to can't. And I don't think that's the model that God is. He hasn't created us for that. You have to take rest, and so it's like a maintenance thing, where the way to be more productive is that you take a break, and then you come back and you do more.
Yeah, well, and you have to actually recognize that you need it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I was going before. I am my own worst enemy because the inherent to me is a fight against rest. Like I'm leaving things undone, or the world can't go on spinning if I'm not sitting there doing something. And that's a self-reliance that God doesn't want us to have. That is opposite of, come unto me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. It's like it goes against all of that. So recognizing that you actually need this and that God put that in you is something that I think is really foundational in this conversation about rest, because like you were saying a minute ago, the world bombards us with all these things that we need to be doing. And honestly, I find that I look at it and I'm like, oh, that's only going to take like another hour a week. I can totally fit that in. They need me. So, it's there's almost a pride that, okay, they're going to need me. I've got to do this. Nobody else can do this. And you remove that, we take yokes on us that aren't ours to carry. And so we miss out on the rest that God does have for us. And I think that that's a huge problem when we look at this element of rest and we pass that on to our children.
Oh yeah, I mean it's we minimize it.
Yep.
And we think of it as lazy, like you're actually it's a sign of laziness, and it's almost sinful to rest.
Yeah.
And it's not. It's something that you really do need. And farmers will have a portion of their land that they keep fallow for a season. And the reason why they do that is because they want it to recover. And so the reason why they know what needs to be fallow, or they need to keep untended for a season, is that it actually goes down and down and down in productivity. So the harvests get lower and lower and lower and lower. And so then that one season, it will take a break. And then the next season, it will come back. And so that is one of the reasons why. And so we're actually created for this, just like anything else in the world, that you need rest, you need sleep. I mean, sometimes I feel like a bear, where you actually have to like hibernate. But you need rest.
Well, yeah. Jesus is the Prince of Peace. And because of that, he instilled in us a desire for that peace and that rest that can only be found in him. And yet we put up all of these barriers that keep us from experiencing that. We don't plan, like you were talking about. Yeah. We don't set up our lives because we don't recognize the importance of it. We push and push and push and take on ourselves things that aren't ours to bear. So that heavy burden that that's not his burden on us. That's our own burden on us.
That's right.
That is. And another thing that I do that really sabotages my rest and keeps me from that peace and that sense of soul rest that I so desire is, it's not enough to just manage my own stuff. I need to make sure that I'm keeping him in line and the kids in line. And, I don't want anybody to carry burdens. I'll help you with that. I'll help you with that. And so many of us girls are so guilty of that because we do love people deeply and we do want to serve. But because of that, we kind of tend to meddle in things that aren't ours to meddle in. And that kills our propensity to rest because we're constantly churning over things that we don't even have control over.
Yeah, I think there's a balance here, though, because I know that, I'm constantly, Leslie, where's my phone? Leslie, where's my wallet?
I wasn't talking about that kind of stuff.
But, there's this constant kind of coming to you because you kind of hold the place together. And so there is a balance, because there's nothing wrong with that, but there is an element of it that it just kind of, it becomes this burden and it steals from you. And there needs to be a recognition that you need rest. And, kind of circling back around to what I was saying earlier about taking that time of rest. If you're going to take a Sabbath one day and having to plan all week to be able to take that Sabbath, if you don't take that Sabbath, then what is actually at the center of your week? And it is not what needs to be there.
Yeah.
So you need to have that. And I think taking the time to actually focus on the Lord, focus on, your calling, focus on what you're doing, why you're doing it, all of those different things, even to the level of working on marriage, spending time just having a relationship with the kids and just going out and playing, Foursquare or Spike Ball or whatever, we do a lot of that around our house. That's important stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I read it was in a book I was reading. I can't remember, but there's an old adage that says, if the devil can't make you bad, he'll make you busy. And that just resonated so much with me because when we busy ourselves so much, we get brittle, we get burned out, we get weary. Our children see themselves, like we talked about with attention, as a distraction, or anger builds up. This element of rest impacts so many other things when it's neglected.
Yeah.
And it's so important, and we so overlook it. But Jesus wants us to have, come unto me and I will give you rest. So I encourage you guys to study, what is that rest? Look at that passage in Matthew, and I've studied it out. I'm not going to go into it now, but study it out for yourself. See what God is talking about when he says, come unto me, you are all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. What is he promising there, and why do you need to pursue it so steadfastly?
Absolutely. So I feel like a nap, you know?
Well, it is Sunday afternoon, so that's kind of what you do there, right?
Yeah, I probably won't take a nap, but I plan on resting.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. I hope you do too, and we will see you again tomorrow.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.